Urban legends exist all over the world, and China has a rich culture in this respect. In some ways, China resembles the Japanese belief system. People believe in everything to do with the spirit world, legends about monsters, ghosts, or entities that may seem strange to us. But when hundreds of millions or even billions of people have the same beliefs, maybe it's real. Let's discover these legends from the land of the rising sun. In the second half of 1995, a laboratory accident occurred at a biological research institute on the outskirts of Shanghai. A researcher accidentally ate a germ that infected him with a terrible disease. Don't worry, it's 1995, not 2019. I'm not going to talk about COVID here, but you'll see it's even creepier. It has to do with the blood of mammals to survive. The researcher, named Ling, is an eminent biologist who studied and obtained his doctorate in Germany. He enjoyed such a high reputation at the institute that he used his power to cover up the laboratory accident. At first, he fed on human blood, which was used for laboratory research, but soon ran out. Since he didn't want to kill anyone, he started eating the blood of laboratory animals. But mouse blood could no longer satisfy his appetite, and he began to descend into hunger madness. He started attacking other people, but he still had some common sense left. And his common sense obviously led him to attack someone weaker than him. So, he chose to prey to women walking alone in the streets at night, becoming like a vampire in Shanghai's dark alleys in search of fresh or rather warm blood. Over time, he attacked and murdered more and more women, becoming omnipotent for blood. Like a drug addict, he lived only to get his fix. By dint of his crimes, he attracted the attention of the local police. In the course of their investigations, they came face to face with the researcher in Hongdu Park, attacking a young woman. At the time, the professor was no longer in his normal state, his posture and gait no longer human. Three policemen tried to stop him, but he managed to begin to attack the policemen. He received several pistol shots, but his strength was increased tenfold, and he managed to kill two policemen, only to be shot dead by the third one. When the police later searched his diary, they discovered that he has recorded the progress of his illness. The second half of the diary becomes crazy and disturbing. The language of the diary gradually shifts from Chinese to Hebrew. Some claim that the vampire's death was a hoax, while others believe that he was not killed that day but managed to escape. The origin of this urban legend remains a mystery, but some believe it to be a recreation of zombie rush in Chengdu by the people of Shanghai. In ancient Chinese folklore, cats are not allowed near corpses, especially black cats. When a black cat approaches a corpse or coffin, the dead are resurrected as zombies. Rumor has it that in 1995, obviously a lot happened that year, a family in a small mountain village in northern Heilongjiang, China, had an argument. The son and his wife quarreled with the young man's mother, escalated and came to blows. The old man, crushed by what had just happened, out of anger, grief and despair, would have hanged herself that night. When he found the body of the hanged woman in the early hours of the morning, her face was decomposed, her eyes still open with anger and her tongue still projecting from her mouth. According to local custom, people who die of hatred must be soothed by their loved ones throughout the night before their burial. I don't know what the custom says, but I hope it doesn't require being in a locked room, otherwise thank you for the smells all night long. However, in addition to having driven their mother to suicide, the son and his wife fell asleep with the old man's body, and a black cat passed over the old woman's body. In an instant, the cat died and the woman's face began to change, suddenly coming back to life as a cat-headed zombie. Furious, she killed her son and daughters-in-law and fled the village. This legend has been reused to prevent children from going out alone at night. Otherwise, rumor has it that the cat-faced old woman catches children who go out at night and devours them. The cat-faced old woman is one of the four most important urban legends of modern China, and its origin is the oldest. Theoretically, it dates back to 1924, when an old woman's body was destroyed by a black cat after her death. and she turned into a zombie in revenge for her unfaithful children, having been passed down from generation to generation. The story has changed with time and versions. In 1982, China had just reformed and opened up, and its economy was still very fragile. Back then, the average Chinese didn't eat meat every day because the price of meat was too high. But in Xinjiang, a famous shopping street in Beijing, there was a stuffed bun store where the buns were stuffed with meat, but the price was very cheap. As the taste was good and the price cheap, the store's business was very prosperous. This store sometimes sold 300 or 400 meat buns a day. So it was a mystery where the steam filled bun store got so much cheap meat. The store's business was so good that the merchant began hiring people from other regions to work in Beijing. It was common for many Chinese to leave their hometowns for the first time to try to earn money in economically developed regions, before Shenzhen became a special economic zone. Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou were the best choices. In those days, communications were poor and many people who went to work in other cities took a long time to write a letter or even get home. Some people died accidentally in other cities and were not notified in their hometowns until years later. As you may have guessed, the foreigners who come to work in this stuffed bun store, let's put it that way, end up on the menu, turned into meat stuffing and put into stuffed buns. That's why the stuffed bun store can still sell steamed buns cheaply. It recruited foreigners to work, and just before the next payday, the manager kills them and sells them as steamed buns. Local customers and police were at a loss, as they hadn't seen a single employee working in the stuffed steamed bun store for over a month. Some customers even complained about eating people's fingernails out of the steamed buns. The owner simply said,
"While preparing the meat stuffing, an employee cut his fingernails nearby. I've already fired him."
One day, when the police went to investigate the store, they made a macabre discovery. They found half-cut human carcasses in the freezer. After his arrest, the shopkeeper claimed that he had first accidentally killed a man who criticized the bad taste of steamed buns, and that he had turned his human flesh into stuffed buns to hide the body. But against all odds, the first batch of steamed buns made with human flesh sold faster and more successfully than ordinary steamed buns. So he decided to add it to the menu of sorts. Are you tempted by your steamed bun now? According to recent investigation, this urban legend is based in part on a horrific real-time case. In 1982, a Beijing cook killed two foreigners who had come to work in Beijing following a fight. He used their bodies to make meat sauce and gave it to its neighbors. His neighbor discovered the sauce anomaly almost immediately and called the police. The killer was arrested the same day. In this case, no one ate human flesh and the killer was apprehended almost immediately. But in those days of underdeveloped media, the story of this case spread widely among people and eventually became the version of the bun stuffed with human flesh. At the time, many Beijingers stopped eating steamed buns because of this urban legend. But who can blame them? I hope this latest story hasn't put you off returning to a Chinese restaurant. Don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel and like this video. See you next Friday for a new one. Bye bye!